Or Liz, somebody. We good? We good? Reaching for the stars, a light to guide the way for a bright tomorrow, prepare for it today. I need you right by my side to be a light and to be a guide. I need someone who really cares and who promises to be there. For if in ourselves we do believe, then our goals we will achieve. All it takes is you and me. Together we can be the best that we can be as we try to touch a star. Today, we're reaching for the stars. I'm so honored to be here in this space at City Hall at St. James as we celebrate emancipation. My name is Rahman Johnson. I'll be the MC for the Emancipation Day celebration on tomorrow, but I'm also excited to say this is my first time coming before anybody as councilman-elect, and I'm so excited to be a part. I'm so excited to be a part of this, and we had planned this before, so I still wanted to maintain that responsibility of my commitment. So thank you for inviting me, Madam Councilwoman, and to our esteemed Council President and Vice President, thank you for being here as well. Today, we will talk about why emancipation is important in our community. Now, although there are people across the country who celebrate Juneteenth as a time when African Americans who were formerly enslaved were freed because of the Emancipation Proclamation, we know that that was issued on January 1st. But it took time for the message to get throughout the country. Here in this part of the world, or at least in the United States, that message didn't come out until May. Now, we celebrate Juneteenth because the message got to Texas in June, but it made it to Florida in May, and that's why throughout North Florida and other parts, we celebrate Emancipation Day. And so we'll talk today about the history of why it's important, not just to understand that it's a celebration, but it's also, most importantly, a reflection, so we will not repeat the past again. With that, please welcome the person who came up with the idea, our friend and the newly elected councilwoman currently the councilwoman for District 8, the newly elected councilwoman for District 10, the Honorable Jacoby Pittman.
First of all, it is indeed an honor to share this significant day with you all. The Emancipation Day celebration commemorates the announcement of the Emancipation Proclamation in Tallahassee, as you heard from Rahman Johnson. And, you know, Rahman and I have been working together over 30 years, and I have seen him grow, and so glad that he's going to be serving with me on the council. But this day is important because a lot of times the struggles and some of the bad things that have happened in our past, we don't like to talk about. And so this is an opportunity to talk about the freedom of slaves. Y'all say that, the freedom of slaves. And are we really freed right now? Because there's still things that come up in our community, such as racial issues, divisiveness, and we as leaders are supposed to come together and talk about the injustices that we have. So I am so excited that we're able to celebrate this day, you know, although it did not happen until 2 years later and 11 days after the Civil War. But we are here in this space, and I am glad to celebrate this with you. Also, I'd like to thank some of my colleagues who we always support each other. If they're having something, we are there together, and that's what it's all about. I'd like to thank my colleagues, Councilwoman Joyce Morgan, who is now our new appraiser of Jacksonville, property appraiser of Jacksonville. And then I also like to thank our Vice President of the City Council, Mr. Sam Ron Salem. Would you all please give him a round of applause? And of course, our president, Terrence Freeman, thank you for your leadership and being here today. I also like to thank Mr. Gaffney, who is here, and he will be doing the Emancipation Proclamation this morning, and thank you for your service to our community. And to Mayor Lenny Curry and Charles Moreland for making this happen. 3 years ago, we were standing here kicking this celebration off, and to Darrell Joseph and Liz Morgan and your team, Liz, I'm saying Morgan, I'm looking directly at you, Liz McCoy from the James Weldon Johnson Park. Thank you as well for your support. And to Mercedes Parker, thank you for your support in putting this event together. You know, you have to thank people when they're in the place which will let you know that you appreciate it, because this is so important. But what I would like to leave you with is that, you know, our community recognizes, you know, our past wrongs and injustices with this celebration of unity. And this is a profound purpose that we will have to work together to continue what we do. This third annual Emancipation today is statewide, and you'll hear a little bit more about the digital preservation that we have joined by Adonica Toller. So again, thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate you being here with us, and we look forward to this event in the future. We really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And moving forward, Adonica Toller spent 22 years at the Ritz Theater and Museum. She's a museum curator and certainly a curator of our history here in Jacksonville, because truly Black history is Jacksonville history. This is Adonica Toller from the Eartha White Museum.
So good morning. So this morning I was asked to talk about what is emancipation. And so as I want to be more reflective on it than actually just giving you facts and things. So emancipation and what is important about us celebrating it, because I'll be honest, I have an issue with celebrating it, but it's also very important because the issuing of the Emancipation Proclamation is a result of the efforts of many people, Black and white, who set the pace to end enslavement of Blacks in the United States. So it is the work of Frederick Douglass and the soldiers, the Black soldiers who were part of the Union, and the generals, the Union generals. Several Union generals were avid abolitionists, and so they helped set the pace, and they helped encourage President Lincoln to create this proclamation. So not to celebrate it or to acknowledge it would be to disrespect the work and the efforts that they've done. So what we have to do is really understand that the document did not officially end slavery. I know that's what people think, but that document did not apply to the Union, the Confederate, or I should say, the slave states that were part of the Union. That document did not apply to them. So we just need to understand what the wording and how important wording is and what was going on. You have to acknowledge that the states that left the Union had created their own country. So the Confederacy of the United States was a country. And so the proclamation, Emancipation Proclamation, was telling another country what to do with their property and their citizens. So you have to include that in the conversation. But what it did do, it was the catalyst for the change. So even though legally it's a little iffy, it was the catalyst, it was the ammunition, it was the encouragement for those who were enslaved and free to end slavery in the United States. And so what we have to do is really understand the history behind it and how that really affected what was going on then, and also compare what was happening then to what is happening now. Because some of the same things are still happening, and we need to acknowledge those things so that we can truly move forward. And we have to stop expecting politicians to answer things for us. They are needed in place, But if I don't go vote, and if I don't speak up, if I don't see something that's right, that's on me. So if a politician makes a decision you do not like, but you didn't vote, or you didn't protest, or you didn't make an effort to make a change, you really don't have a right to complain. So if you're celebrating Emancipation Proclamation, you also need to evaluate yourself to make sure you are upholding the principles of those who fought for that document to be created. And if you're doing that, that means you're actively involved in the community now. You're not waiting for anyone else's permission. You see something that is not right, and you speak up and you make the move. So as we celebrate emancipation for the state of Florida and Georgia and all these other states, we have to we have to make a decision that we're going to honor the work of what was done from that document, so that everyone truly is emancipated in every aspect of their life. So I'm going to end it with that. But what I want, and one way that we're doing that is we, the Arthur White Historical Museum, as well as Claire White Mission, is part of a group of organizations around the state that we're creating. We have created, actually, an Emancipation Proclamation digital project. So what we're doing is we're actually seeking out the information, newspapers, photographs, anything that is related to what was happening around the Emancipation Proclamation, and we are digitizing it and making it available to the community. So if you have some information, if you remember your great-grandmother talking about how Aunt Susie, who was a slave, did this, that, and the other, we would like to hear that information, because it's all part of the whole picture of what we're trying to preserve of Florida's history, so that those who live in Florida recognize that emancipation came to the enslaved in May 20th in 1865, and it's all tied together to what happened in the other states. So please get engaged in really learn the history and get engaged in your community now. Don't wait for someone else to do the work that you see that needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Toller. And now to present a proclamation from the office of our Mayor, Lenny Curry. Please welcome the former representative of District 7 on the Jacksonville City Council, my dear friend for years and years, the Honorable Dr. Johnny Gaffney.
Thank you very much, Your Honorable Rodney Johnson. I've known him ever since he was this small. We're very good friends. It's an honor for me to have this opportunity here, and I just want to, on behalf of Mayor Curry and Dr. Moreland, they really wanted to be here. They had a conflict, and unfortunately, with the passing of Mayor Lenny Curry's father, he could not be here, and they asked me to be here, which I would love to. I'm honored to have this opportunity because the Honorable Jacoby Pittman is my best friend. Meanwhile, I would just like to thank everybody for being here. I say you're either part of the problem, you're part of the solution. If you're not doing anything, you're part of the problem. So we all have to be accountable. I often would say the mayors have to be accountable, school board has to be accountable, teachers have to be accountable, parents have to be accountable, politicians have to be accountable, and students have to be accountable as well. And when you don't vote, you're not being accountable. So that's why we're here today. We have power in our vote. There's a proclamation here about freedom. The proclamation from the city of Jacksonville, whereas on January the 1st, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, effectively banning the enslavement of African Americans in the southern states. And whereas, following the surrender of Confederate troops and the end of the United States Civil War, emancipation was proclaimed in Tallahassee, Florida on May the 20th, 1865. And whereas emancipation legally freed every African American citizen in the state of Florida, banned the enslavement of African Americans, and ended the 246 years of chattel slavery in America. And whereas the enslavement of African Americans in the United States remain one of the darkest periods of American history, African American citizens continue to be impacted. The effect of systemic oppression is discrimination. And whereas in 2021, Emancipation Day was declared a national holiday in the United States. Citizens are encouraged to learn the history surrounding emancipation, explore what emancipation means to them, and acknowledge the needs for further conversation, justice for systemic oppressed members of our community. And whereas the city of Jacksonville is proud to celebrate Florida's Emancipation Day and to honor the legacy and contribution of all those who came before and continue to work towards justice for all. Now, therefore, I, Lenny Curry, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of Jacksonville, Florida, do hereby proclaim May the 20th, 2023 as Emancipation Day. Now, therefore, I, Lenny Curry, by virtue of the authority invested in me as mayor of Jacksonville, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 23, Emancipation Day. In Jacksonville, encourage all citizens to learn about the history of Emancipation Day and continue to advocate for equality and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gaffney. For those of you that have the agenda, we're going to deviate just a bit, as it is important to do. I want to recognize living, breathing, walking African-American history who'll come to say a few words before us. Only three other people besides this gentleman have held this office, and that is significant in our city. I'm looking forward to the day that we don't have to count the number of African Americans, the first or the second or the third that have held the office, but the day that we can say we are one Jacksonville and we are working and moving together for the best of our city. Please welcome the fourth African American to be the president of the Jacksonville City Council. This is my friend Terrence Freeman.
Thank you, Councilman-elect, and what an honor it is to be here before each of you. And as he stated, with history, I find it very rewarding that when you walk out your purpose in life and answer that calling that God has placed in it, the levels that he will put you in. On behalf of the council, I want to thank each of you all for attending today. The council this year has tackled issues that have impacted our communities, that have strained our communities. Issues like access to health care, where we focused and we passed, and I want to thank my colleagues for this, legislation working with administration to rebuild UF Trauma Center in honor of Dr. Leon Haley. Homelessness, where we see so many of our brothers and sisters that are walking the streets in search of mental health assistance, in searching of job training, in search of housing. We focused on that through a special committee and finished with a report, and we will look to continue to move forward in those efforts. And when you think about home affordability, really looking forward to trying to break that stigma of calling it affordable housing. I pivoted to attainable housing. Now I'm saying home affordability, because all of us, as we look to try to further advance ourselves as our families grow, we start looking at the cost of homes. Is it affordable for you? I want to make it something that's relative to everyone. And I'm proud to say that underneath this year's leadership and with the support of my colleagues, over 300 units have come online, with several more that are in the works of coming up. This council has done a great work as we talked about some of the issues, the injustices that all have faced and some have faced in various areas. And I am confident as I close that Council Vice President Salem will continue this great work, and I look forward to being a part of the team and collectively pulling that rope in the same direction to move our city forward. And so I want to thank you again, and as he said about history, and there's a saying in one of the groups that I have the pleasure of serving in, what they see they will be. I can tell you that there have probably been no less than 500 to 1,000 kids that have come to City Hall this year on a tour who have sat in your seat, in your seat, in my seat, in your seat, and they've experienced just for a second what it's like, and now they aspire to be one of those policymakers in the future. We must continue those fights and those efforts. Thank you so much for your time, and God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I have to acknowledge that he was also recently re-elected to return to the Jacksonville City Council. So congratulations, Councilman, on your re-election. As well, he's a former pro baseball player. So I got to say, sounds like you did a home run this council session. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. We also want to recognize the current Vice President of City Council, also known as President Pro Tem back in my day. I'm kind of old school, but please welcome to come up for just a moment. This is the Vice President of Council, Councilman Ron Salem, who also was reelected to return to the Jacksonville City Council.
A little unexpected, but thank you, Councilman-elect. And it's just my pleasure to be here today. I love Jacoby Pittman. We have worked very closely together, and whenever Jacoby has something, I make every effort to be there. She knows that. I was out picking up trash a week ago with Jacoby. But it's a great day, it's a great celebration, and I'm going to try to get out here tomorrow at the park and participate as well. So just thank you for inviting me.
A little bit of history. You may or may not know that just steps from here, I want you to think about that. Just steps from here, not long ago, a man sat and wrote a poem. And the poem he wrote was in commemoration of the thing that we're talking about, emancipation. He wanted to celebrate the birthday of former President Abraham Lincoln. And the poem was so powerful that when those who read it, they felt something inside of them. And so his brother took the poem, Just Steps from Here, and put the poem to music. 500 school children sang the poem that was then set to music, and it became an anthem of freedom, of justice, of equality, not just in America or Jacksonville, but not just in Florida, not just in America, but around the world. That man was James Weldon Johnson. His brother, Jay Rosman, who was an award-winning musician, created something that over 100 years later can still speak to the best of us in our communities. So today, to sing that anthem known as Lift Every Voice and Sing, this is Dee Quaranta. She's the president of the North Florida Women Veterans, and she's also a Veterans Hall of Fame winner or inductee, excuse me, with the U.S. Air Force. This is Miss Dee Quaranta.
So I have to move away from the microphone. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicings rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the presence has brought us, facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
What a magnificent voice. Thank you. Let's give her another round of applause. Thank you, thank you. And now, again, we're so excited that the city of Jacksonville has joined the Friends of James Weldon Johnson Park and, of course, Councilwoman Jacoby Pittman to make sure that this event is a success. Please welcome the director of the James Weldon Johnson Park, Ms. Liz McCoy.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. I am Liz McCoy, the Executive Director of Friends of James Weldon Johnson Park, and we are the nonprofit organization that the city has contracted to manage Jacksonville's oldest and most historic park. Our mission is to create a welcoming urban space that engages with our history and connects our diverse community. One of our core values is to honor our history as we commit to listen and grow alongside the community to build a brighter future. That is why it has been my distinct honor to work once again with Councilwoman Pittman on the third annual Emancipation Celebration Day. The events of the day are programmed to help our community learn together, grow together, and enjoy fellowship together. Our dynamic MC, you have heard from him all day today, which is, of course, Rockman Johnson, and we are so proud of you as the newly elected councilman. Our DJ will kick us off and carry us throughout the day is Celeste Locke, otherwise known as DJ C-Note. We will also have performances by the talented youth at Jacksonville Arts and Music School, poetry by Taryn Love Rains Warwood and Mal Jones, the host of the Lyricist Live, you know him as. Non-Comma Pan-African Dance and Drum Ensemble will bring their high-energy performance to us, and we'll finish out the night with an R&B soul band called Dat's Pressure. It's going to be a great celebration, and we hope you all will come out for this. Thank you again, Councilwoman Pittman, for making this day happen, and thank you to the City of Jacksonville for recognizing the importance of this day. Thanks so much.
So we all hope for everyone that's watching and listening and here, we've got to get on social media, call your friends, but tomorrow we all need to be here. So to wind us up, the person who came up with this idea, please give us a word as we head out. And I got to recognize again, are you okay if I step off the program a little bit? This Emancipation Day is about history, and I'm so excited that we as a city, we just had a really tough election cycle, but we have all come together, and we are on the lips of the world about the history that we made. And one of those history makers is right here with us today, the first African-American woman to be a property appraiser, Joyce Morgan Danford, who was my mentor and the reason I became a news anchor reporter. I remember, Joyce, can you come up and say a word? You are history, emancipation. We are the dreams and hopes that they had. You are here, and you know, we've known each other forever. Thank you. Please say a word.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilmember Pittman, and thank you, Councilmember Salem, and thank you, former Councilmember Gaffney. I just want to say good morning, praise God. Thank you, Jesus. This is a moment, and it's a moment in history, and every time we celebrate history, we just have to remember that Jacksonville, Florida, chose its first African-American and female, not just African-American female. That wouldn't be exactly correct. Chose its first female and its first African-American as property appraiser, and I'm just so pleased and thrilled to be able to serve you. Thank you, Rockman.
It smiles to see that, it just makes me smile to see the history that our city brings forth. Councilwoman Pittman for final remarks.
I just want to wrap this up and just thank each of you all for coming and remembering this day. It's not just this day, it's year-round as we celebrate our crises that we have, our struggles that we have, but at the end of the day, we always come together in unity and address what we need for our community. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Please, please tell your friends, and remember, freedom. Y'all say that with me. Freedom. 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 Remember freedom and unity on this day. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you all. Good afternoon.